The member for Ford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And my question is to the Minister for Immigration and Border Protection. Will the Minister update the House on the importance of Australia's strong and consistent border protection policies, and is the Minister aware of any alternative approaches?
The Minister for Immigration and Border Protection.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Ford very much for his question. And like all of my colleagues on this side, we are absolutely determined to make sure that we stare down people smugglers, because we don't want to see women and children drowning at sea. We don't want to see the people smugglers back in control of who comes to this country. And when John Howard left office in 2007, there were 4 people in detention, including no children. When Mr Rudd, as Prime Minister, undid those policies that had stopped the people smugglers and put them out of business, thousands of people arrived, and indeed 50,000 on 800 boats came on Labor's watch, and 1,200 people tragically drowned at sea. Now, Labor has since apologised for that mess, but they have not learnt their lesson, because they claim even today that as a party they have not got their act together, and there are still many people, as I look opposite here, who are completely opposed to Mr Shorten and to the Labor Party policy, which they say somehow would continue the success of this government's
policy. Just remind the Minister to refer to members by their correct titles.
Of course, Mr Speaker. So the difficulty for Labor is, and the difficulty for this weak leader of the opposition is, that there are many people in his own ranks who are completely opposed to any policy which will keep our borders secure. Now, there are 3 ways in which we have implemented success in this area of public policy. Firstly, we've turned back boats where it's safe to do so. Secondly, we have maintained temporary protection visas, and we have operated regional processing centres, which absolutely are the 3 deterrents that have stared down the threat of people smugglers. Now, the new MP for Braddon has proclaimed on social media that she's with elbow in opposing boat turnbacks.
The Minister will refer to members by their
A direct quote, Mr Speaker. A direct quote. The new MP for Macquarie says that voted against turnbacks at the ALP conference and stated, I quote,
"The Minister will resume his seat. Members on my right will cease interjecting. Members on my right will cease interjecting. The Deputy Prime Minister will cease interjecting. The Leader of the House is interjecting while I'm addressing the House again. And the Deputy Prime Minister looks like he's about to interject again, so he won't. The Manager of Opposition Business has the call.
Mr Speaker, if it is in order to use words because they are quotes from Twitter, there is a lot that can be said about the Minister for Immigration.
The Manager of Opposition Business.
That can't be a reason that it's in order.
It'd just be helpful if, as I've said to the Minister and to everyone, that to refer to the member for Griffith, just to refer to members by their correct titles. It's much easier. Otherwise, you risk offending the chair unintentionally.
Speaker.
The Deputy Prime Minister.
There are many other examples that we can use here, but the point, Mr Speaker, is that people smugglers can smell a weak Labor leader miles away. They picked it in Kevin Rudd, they picked it in Julia Gillard, and they see it every day in this bloke. If you can't secure our borders, you cannot look the Australian people in the eye and say that you can provide for security in this country. And the problem at the last election was that Labor could not get their act together. They have not changed their ways since the Rudd and Gillard years, and all it has demonstrated, Mr Speaker, is that this weak leader of the opposition remains a threat to the national security of this country.